Thank you, Sergio, and thank you, Ron. Now that I'm getting old, I've spent more than half my life in this business, and I'm grateful to look around this room and see so many people that I respect and I care about and I love, and it's good to see you all in this room. I want to congratulate tonight's other honorees. Greatest fighter in the world. Don Shargan, been a mentor to me, a great man. Bernie Fernandez, really a standard bearer of what it means to be a boxing writer. Everyone, I can go down the list, but I know you all, I respect you all, and you've all given so much to the sport, and the sport is better for all of you. Thank you to the BWA. It's a really humbling award. It really is. So I don't really have a hard time talking. It's not me, but you get this kind of award, and it's sort of difficult to know what to say. I remember, when I was first interviewing for my job at HBO, Seth Abraham was the guy that gave me my first opportunity, and he's not here tonight, but I called him to thank him because I wouldn't be standing here. I wouldn't have had a career in boxing if it wasn't for him, and I've loved boxing since as long as I can talk. But one of the first things Seth said to me when he interviewed me before I got the job, he said, "Lou, can't be a choir boy in this business." And I'm no friggin' choir boy. I don't have all the answers. I don't have the corner on truth. I don't purport to. I think I've done my best, though, to be true to myself and to what I believe. And for that, I got really one person that I have to thank for first, and he's not here tonight, but he's probably prouder than I am or anyone else, and that's my dad. Because what Dad really taught me was you have really two things as a man. You have your honor and you have your word. And if you don't live with that kind of code, then you're not a man. And I strive every day to be half the man my dad was, and I'm still working on it. My mom's here, and I don't know a kinder person than my mom. And if there's goodness and compassion in me, that's where it comes from. She's also wacky and completely unfiltered and out of her friggin' mind. And this nut didn't fall very far from that trick. Mom, thank you for letting me believe that I could do anything I set my heart and my mind to. And I'm not going to give you credit for allowing me to have the kind of loose-lipped mouth that caused me to tell the chairman of a major corporation to go F himself. I was thinking about also who I really needed to thank the most, and he's also not with us. And I know a lot of people in this room, you knew this guy, and some of you weren't lucky enough to, but his name was Arthur Curry. And Artie, Artie worked for me at HBO for a number of years, But saying that Artie worked for me is sort of a little bit of a misnomer because I learned from Artie, probably more than Artie ever learned from me. And Artie's mantra, if you knew him, Artie would always say, "Keep it real." That's what life was all about, keep it real. And he encouraged me to keep it real with the people I worked for. Which always wasn't necessarily the best thing for my career, or, it ran against a little bit, as a corporate animal working for a political entity, like the right way to handle yourself. But, what he said to me is, let the chips fall where they may, be true to who you are, and if it doesn't work out, it's not meant to be. And probably the best thing that ever happened to me was I wound up leaving and doing my own thing and finding my own road, and that's partially because of Artie Curry. Artie also told me, keep it real with the people who work for you. Because that's the only way that you're going to get any loyalty or have the kind of relationship with those people that's positive for both of you. And my staff's here, and I thank you, and I love you, and you guys keep me honest too. And lastly, Artie told me to keep it real with the fighters. And I was a TV executive. There's a fighter right there that once I kept it real for, and he proved me wrong. I remember we were in a contract negotiation, and he was, he believed, he hadn't proven it yet, but he knew he was the best. And, And what did he do? He went on and he proved it. And you know, man, like I was wrong back then, you know, but I was doing my job, and I think I kept it real, and I think you did too, and I, you know, and that was it about. But Artie always told me, keep it real with the fighters, you know. The manager's not getting in the ring, the promoter's not getting in the ring, they're not putting their health and safety and their lives at risk. The fighter is, and if there's anything when I look back at my career that I hope, it's that every fighter I've worked with thinks that I kept it real with them. Not always said necessarily what they wanted to hear, not always necessarily was right, but that I kept it real with them. And I think one thing I've said to every fighter I've ever worked with is, this is a hard way to earn a living. And being a fighter is a very hard way to earn a living. It requires a tremendous amount of effort and of yourself. And those fighters, every one of them, from a champion, from the best in the world, to a champion, to a 4-round fighter, or a 6-round fighter, or an opponent, everyone deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. You know, a quick story, when I was at HBO, there was talk about a Tommy Hearns, who was my hero, by the way, and really one of my boxing heroes, a Tommy Hearns Roy Jones fight. This is when Roy was unbeatable and the king of the world. You know, Roy was at that time what Floyd is considered now, the standard bearer of excellence in the sport. And Tommy was way past his prime, and you know, and I love Tommy Hearns, but like loving Tommy Hearns said to me, I just couldn't buy that fight. And I went public and I said that fight was a mismatch and I wouldn't buy the fight. Tommy got very upset, he was hurt, he was angry. He called Artie Curry and told Artie he wanted to meet with me. I didn't know that he meant the same day, because Artie went to my office and said, Tommy Hearns wants to meet with you. 2 hours later, the guy in the waiting area calls me and says, Tommy Hearns is in the waiting area and he's waiting to meet with you. So Tommy came into my office and he said, you know, I'm here because I want to see if you're going to say the same stuff to my face that I read. And I said, well, I am, because I love you. And you're going to get your ass kicked if you fight Roy Jones, and I'm not going to be part of that. And the punchline to that story was, a couple of years later, Tommy's son Ronald turned pro. And I got a phone call from Tommy Hearns that said, will you promote my son? And I'm very proud of that. People who know me know I like rock and roll, I like hip hop. If you follow my Twitter line, I'm like quoting, you know, old school hip hop all the time. But I'm Italian, so I love Frank Sinatra. Turn the music off for a second, because I'm going on forever. I don't really give a shit. Frank Sinatra sang in my way. He said, you know, for what is a man, what has he got? If not himself, then he has not. To say the things he truly feels and not the words of one who kneels. For good, the bad, and the ugly, I've said what I feel. And I'm going to say a couple of more things that I feel before I get off, and here's what they are. Tomorrow night, you know, there's a great fight, and I'm thrilled that I'm being able to promote it, and Showtime Tables here. Stephen, thank you for putting it together. It's an honor to promote a fight of that magnitude and to two guys at the top of their game, the best fighting the best. But I've also promoted dog shit. And a lot of people have, and a lot of us have. I mean, too often, you know, we don't give the fans exactly what they deserve, and what they deserve is the best fight and the best on a regular basis, because that's the only way the sport's going to get back to the glory it once had. So we got to do better. I have to do better. We all have to do better. PEDs, people are hitting one another. They're not hitting baseballs. There's got to be zero tolerance for performance-enhancing drugs. You know, this next statement I said, I was actually reading something that I wrote 25 years ago. And I said that it's barbaric that there aren't uniform health and safety standards for fighters in boxing. And it's still barbaric that there aren't uniform health and safety standards in boxing. So that a fighter that's brain injured can go from a state that actually protects him, or a fighter that's blind can go from a state that actually protects him and fight someplace else and lose his sight or lose his ability to function, and that's a disgrace. And lastly, recently, you know, like many people in this room, I lost my hero. And one of the things I've said I did right was I picked the right hero. And there's something called the Muhammad Ali Act. And if we want to honor Muhammad Ali, one of the things we can do is actually enforce that freaking act. instead of just having something on the books that no one pays attention to. And if a fighter's going to get in the ring and put his health on the line, his safety on the line, his blood and his guts out there, he deserves to know how much money's there for his services before he fights, not after. And anyway, that's it for me. Thank you very much. I'm humbled. I'm honored. Thank you.